Good evening and welcome to tonight's program, The Buzz About the Spotted Lanternfly. I'm Dina Henshin, Branch Manager at Middleburg Library and your host. Please feel free to use the chat feature to send me your comments and questions during the program, and I will relay them to Beth during and after the program. Beth Sastre is the horticulturist for Virginia Cooperative Extension. She was born in Mexico and obtained a Bachelor of Science in Agronomy. Beth decided to pursue her master's degree in Nutrition and Postharvest Physiology at the Food and Development Research Center. Beth has 36 years of experience in the horticulture sector and has worked in Latin America, Africa, and the USA. Beth has a very close relationship with workers from the agriculture and landscaping industries and provides tailored training in English and Spanish. Through extension programming, she helps find solutions to various horticulture problems. She's well versed in best management practices for regenerative agriculture, focusing on soil health principles, integrated pest management, pesticide safety training and certification, and recertification, as well as local food supply and value chain, leadership and community viability, and education. Welcome, Beth, and thanks for coming back.
Good evening, Dina. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you everyone for being here. Again, I'm going to talk about spiral lanternfly, and this time I call it the buzz about spiral lanternfly. So let's start. Just as an introduction about my department, we are the Department of Extension Services, also known as Virginia Cooperative Extension, and we are a department within Loudoun County. Our department has 4 areas of research or education, and is agriculture and natural resources, 4-H and youth development, family and consumer science, and community development. We do research-based education from our 2 grand land universities, Virginia Tech and Virginia State University. So the agenda for tonight is going to be the fun facts. I will include some management there, debunking myths, and questions. So the first one is short life, big population. Adults only live for about 4 months, but females can reproduce exponentially. In that time, they can cause millions of dollars in damage to grapes and ecosystems. So here's some fun facts. This is the life cycle of spiral lanternfly. Spiral lanternfly has just one life cycle during the year, and it means that it's gonna develop just it's gonna go from egg, and I'm sorry, I don't know what happened with the egg. It is hidden, but we'll see them everywhere. And then it's gonna be the nymphs. We have 4 nymphal stages. 3 of them are gonna be black and white, and then the 4th one is gonna be red and white with white and black dots. Then we're going to see the molting, and this is going to be a 4 nymphal stage becoming a adult. On the base of this slide, we have the phenology or life cycle of the spiral lanternfly, and what are the stages that are happening during the different types of the year. And this is important for us because that way we can identify the insect, and we know that during the months of January and May, we are not gonna see adults. So it's gonna be just eggs or nymphs. So that is important. Also, it's important for us to know the life cycle of the insect because we can identify what is the weakest link for this. Eggs. So each female can lay down between 2 or 3 egg masses, and each one is going to have between 30 and 50 eggs. And in this photo, you are seeing the tiny nymphs emerging from the eggs. It's very hard to see this stage because as soon as they emerge from the egg, they hatch, they are going to start changing color. In low density population, sex ratio is 50-50. And then in high density populations, sex ratio is extremely female based, especially prior to reproductive maturation. And this picture shows the difference between female and male. So both of them are going to be, insects. And then, but the difference is here. So the female has this at the bottom of the abdomen has a red color, and that color is an organ that helps expel the eggs or lay down the eggs, and that is the female. That's a fun fact that you can, next time that you get one, you can look at it and see if that is a male or female. One pest, many victims. So research shows that spider lanternfly feeds on more than 100 plant species. Still, tree of heaven and grapes, wild and cultivator are its favorites. And let's remember these because we are going to talk about other things that are happening or having here. We have been listening or reading on other social media. So the key plant hosts for spiral lanternfly through the growing season are rose, grape, tree of heaven, black walnut, butternut, river, beech, willows, sumac, silver, and red maple. And then we have, which stage of development will prefer this. If you see grape, wild cultivators, and tree of heaven are the ones that they prefer during the whole development cycle, nymphs and adults. And then then we have the roses for nymphs, but then we have river beech, willow, sumac, and silver red maple for the adults. And these are mostly the trees that we have on any environment here in our county or anywhere else. Also, we have seen that nymphs, they prefer plants that are more herbaceous because their mouth part is not very well developed, so they need plants that are more tender. And what we have seen here is that plantain and Virginia creeper are the preferred for nymphs. So I'm not going to read all this list, but I'm going to leave this for you to look at it and see how many plants do you recognize and how many of these trees you have or you have seen around your neighborhood, because these are some of the trees that a spiral lanternfly really likes. On this case, we have an E after the name of the tree, and it means that egg masses have been found more prevalent on these trees. But as you may have seen, most of us have those trees as ornamentals in our neighborhood or yard. And this is just to show where most of the names have been found, and mostly are on parts that are more tender, and they also coincide with some of the plants that they like when they are when they lay down the eggs. So sneaky egg cases. Egg masses look like mud splatters or dried putty on trees, rocks, vehicles, or furniture, making them easy to miss. As I mentioned, each female will lay down between 2 or 3 egg masses, and each egg mass has between 30 and 50 eggs. So this is an egg mass that already lost the cover, and you're also going to see that there are some openings. And if you see openings like that, it means that the spiral lanternfly has already hatched, and this is like a door that they push out. In some other occasions, rarely right now, is you're going to see like a tiny hole instead of an elongated opening. And if you see that tiny hole, that's a good sign, because that means that a tiny wasp has been parasitized that egg, and then the larva is going to hatch and is going to feed on this one. So here I'm showing different ways where we have seen, and you may have seen as well, spiral lanternfly. But look at this. If on this tree, on this bark, sycamore, is going to be very hard to identify it, and it looks like a dry clay, but you have to have a very well-educated eye to find this. And then we have on this one, we have many other egg masses that are also very, they're sneaky. It's hard to see them. And we have here new egg masses as well as egg masses that are already the insect has hatched. And on this one, We have egg masses that are already wearing off. That means that it was laid down at the beginning of the year, the previous year, and maybe at this time when the picture was taken was around January, February, and it's going to be losing that cover in order to prepare it for hatching. So as I mentioned, there are cryptic egg masses. Look at this one. We have 2 egg masses here that, if, as I said, if you don't have a dedicated eye or experience, it's going to be hard to find it. Look at these 2. And then this one. Sometimes when the spiral lanternfly is laying down the eggs and is covering at the end of the third egg mass, they don't have enough material to cover, and there are some eggs that are exposed. So look on this one. Here is one egg mass. This is a very recently laid down egg mass, and then on these branches we have several. It's important to mention that the egg masses are always laid down parallel to the branches and mostly underneath the branches, on the bottom of the branches, and is because they really try to protect themselves. So these are the best places for them to protect. On this branch is going to be hard to see, but there are so many egg masses here. And as you can see, they are up high on the canopy or the higher branches of the trees. This was the site in Winchester when first was identified. And look at this tree. All these are new egg masses laid down. I'm sorry, this was Penn State. The other thing is that there are many egg masses that look alike spiral lanternfly, and it's important for us to identify because we don't want to destroy beneficial insects. So the first one, as you can see, is a spiral lanternfly. Another thing that is very common on them is if they lay down egg masses on one branch, probably very for sure that you are going to find them new egg masses next year on the same spots. So look for those trees, see where they are laying down the egg masses. If you are killing them, that's good, but most of the time they are going to go exactly to the same places. Now we have here egg masses that are a cankerworm egg mass, and they are totally different. I don't want you to remember all of them, but I want you to be aware that there are other type of egg masses that look like. We have the 10 caterpillar egg mass. Well, that is something, that is another insect that can destroy a plant. Then we have wheelbug egg masses. This is a good insect, a beneficial, so it will be a predator of others. So this is the way it looks like. And then we have a mantis egg mass. This is the Chinese one. And then have the spongy moth egg masses. They look alike, but the difference is the spongy moth is more like a fibers compared to the spiral lanternfly, but they lay down many egg masses in one place like spiral lanternfly. And then we have the lichen or bark. And at the beginning of the year, we have a lot of people calling saying, yeah, we have a lot of egg masses, and it was lichen. So this is something that is very frequently mistaken by spiral lanternfly egg mass. Looks like a fashion butterfly model. Its forewings are gray with black spots, but when it jumps, it flashes bright red hindwings, like a surprise reveal on a runaway. Beautiful as a butterfly, looking at its wings makes you think, oh, how beautiful this butterfly is. Don't be fooled. So spiral lanternfly, as you all know, is not a butterfly, and I will show you what it is. It's not a butterfly, and it's a big one. As a big insect, it's about 1 inch in length. Generally, we see the first adults in early July, and when they are on the trees, they hold the wings in a tent-like manner. When they open the wings, they are like a 1.5 inch long. The reasons when you are going to see it opening the wings is when they are mating, sometimes when they are laying down eggs, and also when if they are on a place that insecticides have been sprayed, they are going to open their wings and flap very, very fast. So spider lanternfly belongs to the same family that aphids, leafhoppers, and cicadas. And I put these music notes, and it's a 60 hertz because they are attracted to a substrate-borne vibration. And that means that anything that vibrates 60 hertz, they are going to be attracted. And it's the same for all these insects. Not a good flyer, they can jump really far. Despite having wings, it mostly hops or glides short distances. Its biggest travel trick is hitchhiking on vehicles, shipping pallets, or outdoor equipment. So as we have seen is a spiral lanternfly dispersal for nymphs is all nymphal stages. They are gonna jump or hop from plant to plant. Initially, you're gonna see them underneath the leaves, but then as they are growing, they are gonna start moving to other parts of the plant. You can see them on stems as well. The adults of spiral lanternflies will make repeated flights depending on conditions and food resources. So when they become adults, they start moving really more than the nymphs. In Virginia, 70 days between first observed adults and first observed egg masses, that's when dispersal occurs. So once they become adults, they start looking for food and they start looking for to mate, and then they start moving a lot. So that's when most people start seeing the spiral lanternflies. There are cumulative annual estimations of 3 to 4 miles through walking, jumping, and flying. However, because the dispersal is mostly by hitchhiking, they move longer distances. The first thing that we saw is the railroads. So trains will, they will lay down eggs on any surface. So trains was the railroads were the main dispersal mode. And also is us. We move them from one place to another. So nymphs can hitchhike, but high mortality when that happens, compared to adults and egg masses. So I don't know if you have ever been on your car and driving from one place to another, and then the spiral lanternfly jumps on your car, and you are seeing on your mirrors or any part of your car, and they don't give up. They are there. So we move them that way. So all life stages can hitchhike to new areas, but eggs and adults pose the greatest risk for movement. So you will see them on cars, on concrete, on toys, on any furniture left outside. I have more pictures, more wood, rocks, metal, rusted metals. They love rusted metals. If you have seen if you have been at any of the vineyards or you have joined any of the Scrape for the Grape, and they have a metal post, that's where you're going to find them. And it's amazing how much they like rusted metal posts. So this is another, old truck that was left in the woods, and we also found the spiral lanternfly egg masses. Here, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm going to show it here. You will have it on this wood pallet, and then we have some here and some other here. So, they don't discriminate the places where they want to lay down the egg masses. Here's another one. This is concrete, and I think this is a abandoned water tank. So here's a really fresh egg mass, more underneath the picnic tables. Here is an abandoned silo, and then you can see here, and it's hard to see, but there were many inside here. You're not going to be able to see. There's one, but there were more. So super strong mouth parts, vampire bugs, sugar fountain, free food. So it feeds from sap by piercing plant stems through a specialized mouth part called a stylet, which works like a soda straw stuck into the plant's veins. So I don't know if you ever seen, here is the spiral lanternfly and here is the stylet, and it's amazing to, for these insects so tiny that they can insert that stylet into the bark and being able to feed from so much sap. If you ever seen an infestation of spiral lanternflies and then walk underneath that tree, you're going to see like it's raining. And what happened is that they are screening the honeydew, which is very sweet because that's what the nutrients on the plants are, as sugar. And as they are feeding, they are excreting. So sights and smells of summer. The best way to identify new infestations is when you're walking during summer, and on your walk you will see that plants are super shiny, the plants that on the forest, on the floor of the forest. And if they are super shiny, is because the spiral lanternflies are feeding up high and they are screening that honeydew. After that honeydew is deposited on plants leaves, you are going to start seeing something blackish growing on it. You will see it here as well. And then some other honeydew are just running off the trees. And this is called sooty mold. So because it's sweet, there are some molds that are going to be growing on it. And then at the same time, you are going to listen and hear a lot of insects buzzing around because they like sugar. So ants will be harvesting that sugar, bees, honeybees, bumblebees, wasps. So a lot of insects are going to be surrounding those areas as well. And then here you see is like the trees are crying, but it's because all the piercing that happened with spiral lanternfly. So still the sap is running down, or so those areas are the ones where spiral lanternfly is excreting. And then after the sooty mold, you're going to see all this yeast growing on it. And that is a very peculiar smell. So if you are walking on a forested area and you start smelling like a fermentation, and you see some blackish and something white, is a spiral lanternfly feeding, because they feed and they excrete so much that you can see that very clearly. Okay, so get rid of them today so we will never see them again. Control spiral lanternfly on a spot by any means will not free you of their presence. They have millions of happy friends that will call upon them to crash into your everyday parties. Also, they are not picky eaters. They will feed from any plant that they see. As you may remember, they have more than 100 host plants. Here, I want to talk a little bit of control. It's very important that whenever you are using a pesticide, being insecticide, herbicide, fungicide, you need to read the labels of that pesticide, and you have to follow the instructions. Okay, the first thing that we need to do while controlling spiral lanternflies is assess the risk. And this table from Penn State shows what is the severity. And then we have few spiral lanternflies, many spiral lanternflies, plants under stress, and proximity to vulnerable plants. And then we have, the low, occasional egg masses, tolerable, few egg masses, nymphs or adults, undesirable, many egg masses, nymphs, adults, and sooty mold present, intolerable, heavy levels of adults and nymphs feeding extensively amount of sooty mold. So I think many of us will say that we are under the yellow, orange, red. But it's important to see what is the risk and what are the benefits of controlling it. Also, it's important to know that there is an environmental impact. Anytime we use pesticides, the environmental impact is going to be bigger. This is something we call the IPM, Integrated Pest Management. And the first one is going to be cultural controls. And the cultural control is promote plant health and remove a favorite spiral lanternfly host, which it will be the tree of heaven. And don't assume the damage is from spiral lanternfly. The second one will be physical mechanical control, scrape egg masses, use tree traps, swat, stomp nymphs or adults. This is something we all have been doing for many years now. Then we have the biological control, support natural enemies by providing habitat for them. Releasing predators is not currently recommended for spiral lanternflies, but I will talk more about other recent research that is happening. Reduce toxicity insecticide control. So any insecticide that you use to control spiral lanternfly is gonna be also controlling killing other insects. So be very careful when you spray it, how you spray it, and what you are spraying there. Insecticide control, use register insecticides as contact or insecticide or systemic applications, including bifenthrin, zeta, cypermethrin, carbaryl, and dinotefuran. These may have longer residual efficacy. When we are talking a lot about longer residual efficacy, do you remember what I said that where else you are going to find when spiral lanternflies are there, you're going to find other insects. Spiral lanternflies are going to be there when tree is blooming. So we need to assess where else is surrounding the spiral lanternflies, because otherwise we're going to be killing everything. Time of the year and appropriate treatment. So we have management options and the time of the year. So the first thing is don't move any life stage of spiral lanternfly. Before moving something, taking it to another state, to another place, just check on it. And if you see any egg masses, which is what is going to be happening now, please destroy them. Scrape and destroy eggs. This is going to happen during January and May. Remember the life cycle, and then September to December. Spray eggs with dormant oil or horticulture sprays is going to happen during the February and April before they hatch. Use circle traps during May and October. Contact insecticides the same months. Systemic application is going to be May to July, and then systemic application of another insecticide. Contact insecticides are these that need to touch the insect in order to kill it. Systemic insecticides are these that we apply, and then the insecticide moves through the vascular system to all the plant. So the whole plant becomes a poison for those insects. So when we are controlling spiral lanternfly, we have to be very careful in observe what is surrounding that and what else is there. Because I don't want to bore you with this, but we don't want to kill any other beneficial insects while controlling spiral lanternfly. Management, this is general. I'm sorry, I have to mention something here. So scrape and destroy eggs. Do as much as you can. It's going to be very hard because you cannot reach many areas where they are. Spray eggs with dormant oil or horticultural spray, as well as the scrape and destroy eggs. Most of the time, the eggs are not at an area that is easy to reach. But killing as many as we can, it will control the exponential reproduction of it. Circle traps. So these circle traps are traps that you put on the trunk of the tree, and it's going to catch a spiral lanternfly. It's not going to kill it, it's going to catch it. These are more recommended on areas where there is not an infestation, well known. Yes, you can install it even if there is infested, but you will need to kill them after, because you are just catching it, you're just trapping it. Circle traps, these are traps that are very sticky, pieces of tape, sticky tape. One of the problems that we see is that if you leave them open, it's gonna there's going to be a bycatch, so meaning you are going to see other insects that are not spiral lanternfly, maybe small reptiles and other small mammals. So be careful when you use those. There is a protection wire that you can put on top of it. I'm not going to talk more about it, but just be aware that if you're going to use it, look for the publications from universities and see how to do it correctly. That way you don't catch something else. So destroy egg masses during winter to reduce the number of nymphs in spring. As I said, one egg mass will have between 30 and 50 eggs or insects. Contact and systemic insecticides are not effective against egg masses. Why? Because these are for insects that are feeding on plants or are exposed. If you use a contact insecticide, it's not going to reach the insect that is inside the egg. If you use a systemic insecticide, these egg mass or these eggs are not feeding on the tree. They are dormant. So using oil on those egg masses is going to suffocate them. But we have to use it very close to hatching. Otherwise, the oil is not going to be doing its job. Dormant oil will not prevent egg laying by spiral lanternfly. So the dormant oil is just to suffocate egg masses. Use contact insecticides such as bifenthrin, cypermethrin, carbaryl, and malathion as spot sprays on nymphs and adults seen on the trunk, branches, and foliage of plants. Repeat spot sprays are as needed. This is a management from Virginia Tech. But as I said, when you start seeing nymphs and adults, you're going to see also other insects. So be careful when you are doing this. Follow the instructions and just use the insecticides that are approved to control spiral lanternfly. Use neem oil insecticide soap or pyrethrin sprays for organic control. Organic control doesn't mean that it's not going to kill anything else than spiral lanternfly. Organic control means that it's a product that has been extracted from a biological agent or a plant and will break down in the environment more friendly, but it will break down faster. So you will need to do repeated applications. Systemic insecticides like dinotefuran and imidacloprid can be used as strong sprays, thorn injections, or soil drenches, depending on the label. And then protect pollinators, as I said, do not use oil drenches in trees and shrubs that are in flower, or if flowering plants are planted at the base of the tree or shrub. This is from Penn State, and it says management in landscapes. Contact insecticides may be used to control nymphs, and it says may be used. It's difficult to, when we're controlling nymphs, it's difficult to use a systemic insecticide because the nymphs will move a lot. And then you are not going to be able to spray systemic insecticides on all the plants that they are moving to. Then contact insecticides may be used to control spiral lanternfly adults, and properly applied systemic insecticides can promote months of control by continuing to kill spiral lanternflies as they arrive. But once they lose the activity, more spiral lanternflies are going to come and you are not going to be able to control it till you spray again. Also, there are some limited number of applications from some pesticides, in this case, insecticides. So you need to really label to apply no more than the pesticide label allows us. Other considerations: to protect pollinators that visit flowers for nectar, never spray any insecticides on plants that are blooming. Unfortunately, from the moment that plants are blooming, we are going to see spiral lanternflies there. And we have plants that are blooming at different times of the year. And spiral lanternfly is going to be there from the moment that they are nymphs to the moment that they are adults. So be very careful when you spray, if you decide to spray. Using insecticides to kill spiral lanternfly nymphs will not prevent, again, spiral lanternfly from coming onto your property later in the season. The best thing to do is promote plant health, which may help reduce the stress of spiral lanternfly feeding on your trees. It's like if we are anemic, the best way for us to promote our health is to eat healthy, exercise. So it's going to be the same. Promote health plant by promoting healthy soils. That will help a lot to your plants. And using insecticides to kill spiral lanternfly adults will not keep more spiral lanternfly adults from coming onto your property, okay? Here is another thing that is where eggs and nymphs and adults are found. So on a tree, 30% of these insects are going to be at the level that you can see it. The rest are going to be on the canopy. So when we spray insecticides here, if there is a contact insecticide, we are not doing anything here. If this is an systemic insecticide, meaning you spray it and it moves here, it's going to be more effective. But also there are some limitations. Maybe that systemic insecticide, you may not be able to apply it because you are a consumer. So you may need to reach out to a landscape company, and each application is about $280. Here, this is a short video. I'm going to show you, there are some bees moving around, and I don't know if you can see it, but it was, I took it this year. And that's what you are going to see when you see a population of spiral lanternflies, and then what other insects are around. So you see here 2 bees, another one more here, one more here. And also there were other insects. I cannot see it right now. Bumblebees. So they are attracted to the honeydew that they are excreting. The other thing that I'm going to talk is Tree of Heaven. As you may know, Tree of Heaven is the main host of spiral lanternfly. Tree of Heaven is an invasive from China, and this is how we control Tree of Heaven. During the months of January to April, we will cut the trees after treatment. We do some treatment at bud break, flowering, and I'm sorry, the bud break will happen during April. Flowering and seeding seed ripening will happen between May and July. And then we are going to have a treatment which will be July from October, foliar or stem application, and then we are going to have to cut it again, cut the tree. So these are the months for the best months to do the treatment of a Tree of Heaven. There are some, I think I'm going to show you. Oh, yes. So this is the control of Tree of Heaven. We can do spot treatment, foliar application. We can do basal application. We can do the hack and square. And Virginia Tech does not recommend the stem. I'm sorry, the cut and spray, stem cut and spray. But there are many landscapists that are doing it very successful. So this is something that we will recommend, but we have been seeing it in the industry, and is working. So no natural enemies yet. Since spiral lanternfly is native in Asia, it's kept in check by specialized parasitic wasps. But in the United States, those predators aren't widespread, so populations can explode. And there is current research, and in this case, this is biological research. This is Biovaria species that was found in Pennsylvania and spiral lanternflies population. One thing is, I have seen many insects that that show like a starting this type of fungal infestation. I'm working with some researchers to see if they want to identify it. But if you see spiral lanternflies and you are not afraid to touch it, use your camera of your phone and do a zoom and see if you can see. You may not be able to see all this development of the Boveria bassiniana, but you may see some dots like here and on the front of the on the body of the insect. And they also become more like more slow, like zombies. There is another endemic parasitoid, and is this is what I told you. If you see egg masses that have holes, it's because these tiny wasp uh, has been found that parasitizing these eggs. Also, the eggs of spongy moth, and spongy moth is also an insect that national parks have been controlling, and they have been spraying some of these tiny wasps. So maybe they are dispersing, and there will be a time where the population is high and we have more biological control from them. The problem is that these tiny wasps are very susceptible to pesticides. So in our effort to control spiral lanternfly, we may be also killing this because they are super tiny. It's hard to see them, and they are more a small amount for them is really bad. So when we control spiral lanternfly, we may be also killing this if they are around. And they right now they are not in big. The population is not as big to provide a control. Other things that we have seen is spiders. Spiral lanternfly get trapped on the spider, and then the spider go and inject the venom and let them die, and then they suck them. This is a wheel bug that also can, we have seen it attacking spiral lanternflies. And then also there's research that show that bats are really good at that as well. So, if you have any of these, just let them be. Maybe put more bat houses, it will work eventually. Um, I'm still your biggest best friend. So dogs' powerful noses can sniff out spiral lanternfly eggs, and they can be trained to smell them. Virginia Tech has a research where they have been training some dogs. This research is also done in collaboration with Dr. Misa Honita. He is our plant pathologist or a great pathologist, and they have been training dogs. I think the last training was last year. I'm not sure if he's gonna do another one, but the main use is to use them in the vineyards. So it will be easy for wine growers to identify exactly where the biggest population is, and then just kill the egg masses. Debunking myths. So pressure washing destroys spiral lanternfly egg masses. So what happened is it will remove them from the surface, will spread them. Eventually, maybe they will be killed, but that is not for sure. And the other thing is the pressure washer will destroy your plants. So be careful when you do that. The spiral lanternfly needs tree of heaven to reproduce. So if you remember, I said that a tree of heaven and grapes, wild and cultivated as the main host. However, they have more than 100 plants to choose from. If they don't have tree of heaven, they will go for other plants. So it doesn't mean that killing tree of heaven will help us to kill them. The things that research have found is that when they go to the tree of heaven, the tree of heaven has these alkaloids that are passed on to the female that is going to be laying down the eggs, and those eggs are going to have that. So they have seen that they may have a higher probability of a reproduction, and also they are less palatable to other insects. So our efforts to kill the tree of heaven is for there to make them more susceptible to our environment, but not to erase them from our environment. Homemade sprays are safe and effective. This is not true. We can make them, we can apply them, but we can kill plants and we also can kill other insects. Insecticides are not specific for a type of insect. So you need to be aware that if you are doing that, it doesn't mean that it's safe and effective. Spiral lanternflies are luminescent. This is not true. Spiral lanternflies, as I mentioned, belong to the family of the aphids, leafhoppers, and cicadas. There are some members of this family that are luminescent, but the ones that we have here are not. Other things that we have here is a spiral lanternfly is killing my tree. No, unfortunately, our trees are in decline. There are many stressors that have been happening during many years: drought, heat, cold, too much rain during a period of time. So our trees have been stressed for many years. Spiral lanternfly heavy feeding will be another stressor. So as I said, the best thing to do is to try to feed the soil, to feed our trees, our plants. And then the last one is plant milkweed to kill spiral lanternflies. So Penn State has done some research. I think it was the 2024, and in control environment, meaning in a lab where they were just growing milkweed, they saw that milkweed will kill tree of spiral lanternfly, paralyze it very effectively. But remember, they have more than 100 hosts, and milkweed is not one of the favorites. So some people said, yes, you can try to plant milkweed. That way it's going to help the monarch butterfly. But also we have many other butterflies that do not feed on milkweed. So the answer to plant a lot of milkweed to kill spiral lanternfly, I don't think is gonna do that, because if you have it in an open area, spiral lanternfly will not go for the milkweed. It will go for your trees, especially maples, black walnut, honey locust, tree of heaven, wild grapes. Virginia creeper. So it has other hosts that will prefer. Hopefully, um, research shows something else, but right now is if you have it in an environmental control, in a control environment, yes, but not on an open field. So right now, the current known distribution of spiral lanternfly population in Virginia in May 2025, it was this. These are all the counties that spiral lanternfly has been found. Unfortunately, this map is not being updated, or entomologist that was working very hard on this is about to retire, so the map hasn't been updated. The thing is that the quarantine by the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services for spiral lanternfly was repealed in March 27, 2025. The reason is because the purpose of the quarantine is to take all the measures available to slow or to stop the spread. We didn't do that. We failed. Another counties also failed. So there was not purpose for us to continue with or to put Loudoun in quarantine and others on other counties. And this is July 10, 2025. This is what Cornell has. Everything that is on blue is where the population has been found. There are many counties that are in quarantine. I think there are now like a 16 states where spiral lanternfly has been found. None of them or none of their counties are in quarantine, but that is the population of that we know. Do you have any questions? We have 10 minutes for questions, and this is what happened in Winchester when somebody left the car under a tree of heaven, and then spiral lanternfly was growing there. And no, this is not tree of heaven. I think this is a honey locust. But
Goodness.
yeah.
I do have several questions for you, Beth.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're
The
welcome.
pro- the presentation was great. So if Loudoun County successfully reduces the numbers of tree of heaven as a part of their invasive species eradication plans, will that put additional pressure on the vineyards?
Um, Probably, but it doesn't matter, it's not additional pressure because what we've seen is places where tree of heaven is surrounded the vineyard and is not the winery so it's not the winery into in the winery space or the owners, the property owner. Spotted lanternfly will feed there and then will go to the vineyard. So it doesn't matter for the vineyards. It doesn't matter. They are a high risk because if we don't have tree of heaven, they will go directly to the vineyard. But if you kill all tree of heavens, remember that they pass on these chemicals that make them unpalatable and make them more fertile. So if we kill all the tree of heaven, which is going to be impossible because it's an invasive, what we are going to get is coexist. when they coexist in our environment, there's going to be less food available of this type that will make them more susceptible. But I don't think we are going to be in a position that we can say we are going to kill all the tree of heaven. No, for any invasive species in the world, we don't eradicate it. We coexist. That's what is going to happen, hopefully soon.
Um, Somebody commented, I have them in my fireplaces. Had to close the opening with a sheet of plastic to keep them out of my house. Will heat kill the eggs when we start to use the fireplace?
I'm not sure about the heat, maybe because and I don't know how high they are. But one of the things that I know about temperature is the polar vortex didn't kill the tree of heaven. And we know that at 200 degree days, these are going to hatch. So two things can happen. One, maybe they will kill it when they turn it on, or maybe they will hatch. So be prepared for either one.
Let's see. Somebody commented, in areas where tree of heaven is not prevalent, as I understand it, birds will eat spotted lanternflies. So though I do not usually feed birds until late fall, I plan to attract birds to my yard now via via numerous feeders to encourage them to eat the insects that have recently taken an interest in my neighbor's silver maple. Do you think that that's a good strategy?
So I know that there are some of the farmers that I work with. Few of them have said that the chickens are eating them. So I think if they don't taste bad, if there are no tree of heaven around, although they move and by themselves they may move like a 3 or 4 miles per year. So if during that movement they don't find any tree of heaven, maybe the birds are going to be more happy with them because they are going to be more palatable for them since they don't feed from tree of heaven. And one thing that I can tell you is if you are killing egg masses on tree of heaven, I've been working with spotted lanternfly since 2019, so I don't mind killing them with my fingers, but I can smell them when they are feeding from tree of heaven. They smell really bad, the egg masses really bad. So I think that's the way they taste really bad. So
Oof.
maybe the birds, and we have seen birds eating them, but not as much as we would like to.
My almost 9 month old puppy kills them all the time because he loves all bugs and he chases them around and swat. So I said, keep at it.
That's a good, maybe it's a good way for your dog to be trained as well.
I think we answered this, but this is another question. My employer wants to cut down every tree of heaven on the property. Are you recommending this in any way?
Yes, if you can, yes, but it's not enough just to cut it. You need to spray the herbicide because tree of heaven is very vigorous. it produces a lot of carbohydrates that all those will go to the roots. And if you just kill it, it means that all the carbohydrates are going to go to the roots. It's like the bank. So once you cut it down and then it comes spring, if you then spray herbicides, it's going to produce lots, hundreds, thousands of suckers, and it's going to be worse.
Somebody is asking about the circle traps you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give any more information about those?
Well, circle traps are made out with a mosquito mesh and with wire, and what they do is like a funnel with wire, and then you put it around it. And I don't have any more of those, but you put it around the trunk, and it covers the whole trunk. Well, it depends the size of the trunk, so that's the diameter of your trunk. And then what happened is the funnel, since the tip is going to be a funnel, and then it has a like a bottle. I don't know. You can Google it as well. And then all the spiral lanternflies that are on the trunk, they are going to walk right into that trap. But remember, you are not going to control all the spiral lanternflies on that tree. It's going to be just what you see here, because you are not going to be able to put circle traps on each branch of the tree.
Yeah.
But at least you're going to be controlling some of them, and then they are going to get into the bottle, so you're going to have to kill it. And you can do that with soap water. Just put water and soap, and then you can kill them there.
Does anybody have any additional questions for Beth? I don't see any more. Beth, thank you so much for this informative presentation. Oh, wait, one more popped up. Let's see. I've noticed that in my neighborhood, they collect at the peak of our homes. It seems they are attached to stone brick and they gather up high. Is that something you have seen?
Oh yes, as I mentioned, you can find it on anything that is kept outdoors. So I did the class at the Academies of Loudoun. There is two sides of the building that spiral lanternflies are drawn to. So every day, lots of them are there, and then they start dying. And maybe it gets too hot, but yeah, they are attracted to concrete, to rocks, to maybe it's the heat. I don't know. The other thing that we saw, I'm reading the question. The other thing that we saw is when we collected, we looked under the stereoscopes and microscopes, and they had something growing on them. So maybe also, the heat increases the development of that fungus. I have no idea. This is just my hypothesis. But they become really slow, but they are attracted to, within is the heat, the color also, because you cannot see them on every building. It's just specific colors. So maybe it's the heat, and the development of the fungus that they have.
All right, we have a couple more questions and then we will wrap it up. How long do systemic insecticides last in a tree or plant? As a beekeeper, I'm concerned not only for the tainting of our honey, but the killing of our foragers.
So I'm going to tell you something. It depends of the insecticide that you are using, and the label will tell you. So there is something that is called a REI, restricted enter interval, and that is the time that they are going to be active. That pesticide is going to be active. The other thing is some research have found that sometimes is not precisely the active ingredient, but the inner ingredients that are damaging our pollinators. Unfortunately, we don't know a lot about inner ingredients in pesticides because by law they are not required to say what inner ingredients are. So I understand her concern, but unfortunately there is not a lot of information about inner ingredients, and that's what the research has shown for other applications of pesticides.
Do the eggs in an egg mass die if they're scraped from the surface and fall to the ground? They don't live on the ground?
So some of the researchers have shown that there are some insects that will eat it. I will say the best thing is, scraping them out and putting in a bag with soap is a lot of work. So it's better to squish them on any surface. Use a glove or use a car or something, but it's easier than scraping them. You will spend less time and it's going to be more effective.
Okay. Is there a particular recipe for the soap water, or is it just soapy water?
Are you talking for the one that you are going to put on the container for the circle traps?
They didn't specify, so thoughts? What about the circle traps?
Well, when we talk about insecticidal soap, okay, and I'm talking about insecticidal soap, I'm not talking about a household soap. I think and every pesticide is going to give you the label is going to tell you what, but I think for the insecticidal soap is like a 2 spoons on a gallon of water. I may be wrong, but it depends. You need to read the label. The label will tell you. So I'm not talking, again, I'm not talking about a hand soap or dish soap. I'm talking about insecticidal soap. There are some, I think maybe Penn State has a recipe that you can use for a soapy water to control a spiral lanternfly. I'm not pretty sure, but Penn State is the one that has more study on it because they were the first infested. So
Okay.
um, the only thing is, if you are using information from Penn State and they are recommended pesticides, you need to be sure that those pesticides that you are gonna be using based on Penn State recommendation are approved for Virginia. Each state has their recommendation for pesticides, so you cannot use it just because Penn State said that. You need to prove that is confirm that is approved in Virginia. That's the law.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, Beth. It's been very informative, and we've done several of these over the years, but it's been a few years, I think, and
Yeah.
so it's appreciated.
You're very welcome, Dina, and I hope everybody learned something new.